Hello everyone and welcome back to Vlog Fridays, the interview series where we speak to incredible companies working across the world of connected and autonomous vehicles. Today we're lucky enough to catch up with an organisation uniting academia, industry and government to establish the UK as a world leader for self-driving vehicles. So if you've ever wondered when autonomous cars might become the norm, this episode is for you. Hello Mark.
Hello James, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thanks.
You're our second interviewee on Vlog Fridays in the motor series, and I've got to say you're an excellent person to come on this early because you work with a lot of really interesting, modern, innovative companies in the automotive industry, and I really can't wait to delve in deeper into your knowledge about self-driving cars and self-driving infrastructure in the UK.
Please share a little bit about what we're doing and hopefully some interesting insights.
Excellent. Yeah, well, let's get started. So my first question for you, Mark, can you tell everyone watching who Zenzic are and what you do?
Absolutely. So Zenzic is an organisation, but we're funded out of government and industry, and we kind of work with both of those. And we've been established to really set the UK apart as a destination for research and development in what we call CAM, so that's connected and automated mobility. And primarily we've been doing that through, as you can see here, the collection of testbed partners. So we have CAM Testbed UK and 6 facilities who are really driving forward connected and automated mobility in the UK.
Can you tell us a bit about the partners and other companies you work with?
Absolutely. So, primarily we work with our testbed partners. So we have 6 test facilities to create this kind of compelling test environment in the UK, which is all joined up. So that's made up of some of your traditional automotive kind of testing and proving ground people, the likes of Hariba Myra, the likes of UTAC, formerly Millbrook, and Idiadia, who have got a long history of testing, automotive cars and vehicles and solutions over many decades. We've also got some of our test beds who are more sort of new startups. So we've got the Smart Mobility Living Lab in London, which is a collection of a number of organisations who came together to develop this test ground in Parkland Olympic Park in Stratford in East London. The Warwick Manufacturing Group, which is affiliated to the University of Warwick, and they're leading what we call our Midlands Future Mobility testbed, which again is a public testbed around rural and interurban areas between Birmingham and Coventry. So they're primarily the partners we work with.
So Mark, there's obviously so much going on in this industry at the moment. I'm seeing really interesting articles posted on LinkedIn every day. Are there any particularly interesting articles or insights that you have seen recently in the automotive industry?
Almost too much to mention. I think, Germany's striving ahead with what they're doing in regulation, unveiling some new laws which are allowing self-driving vehicles onto the road. But some of the things I think have been really interesting, a bit closer to home. It's a really impressive, I think, piece of work that's going on to do an autonomous vehicle, a bus actually, which is shuttling across the Forth Bridge up in Scotland and looking to autonomously take passengers back and forth over the bridge there. That probably is the one that catches my eye. Hopefully there's some great new stuff coming out of that project.
So I think a lot of us are very excited and positive about self-driving cars becoming the norm. But what would you say to anyone at home who isn't necessarily so fond of the idea of self-driving cars?
Probably the first thing I would say is that I don't think at any point someone's going to stop you driving your car if you want to. Where are the benefits? Maybe it's when you're going out and you don't want to have to drive and you've got to find somewhere to park. Yeah, you could grab an Uber or a black taxi. A lot of the cost in that is in the drivers. Potentially there's a much lower cost of mobility, of moving around as we go to more autonomous vehicle services. One is around safety. We know that upwards of 90% of the accidents and injuries that are caused on the roads today are the fault of human drivers. With autonomy, we have the opportunity to be much more consistent with good driving. What self-driving vehicles can offer is a greater access to transport. You're opening up transport to many more people in a far more cost-effective manner than before.
What will the future of self-driving cars look like? Can you paint us a picture of that?
When we look at the roadmap, we see there's sort of 2 halves to this decade. So this first half that we're now up to sort of 2025-ish, we're kind of enabling, we're preparing the way. We're getting everything we need ready, from infrastructure to technology, to the regulation, to the thinking around insurance and how you kind of safely mitigate risks and manage that. And by about 2025, we've probably got some early, what we call CAM services. Maybe it's a delivery service working with an autonomous vehicle. Maybe it's a shuttle bus running across a campus in a university. From 2025 onwards, what we're starting to see is that kind of ramping up. And you see more and more cities and more areas that are starting to use these services. possibly starting to see public transport services as they kind of twist and shape and mold to this new way of working and moving around. They start to leverage those technologies, and we see by 2030 we've got significant numbers there.
Excellent. So that was a really good synopsis of the next 10 years. Can we spin the globe a bit more to about 2050?
It's really interesting. And, I've had sort of conversations with my kids that, they may never need to sit a driving test. That may well be a thing of the past. People will start to make a choice about, do I want to own a vehicle? As we see autonomy come, and at what we call mobility as a service, where I press a button and the vehicle I need rocks up in about 5 or 10 minutes. I jump in it, I go to where I'm going, and maybe, I'm going to home base or B&Q, and I order just a little vehicle to get me there. And on the way back, I order a van and I load my stuff in and I come back. And we start to see actually, as people potentially, are not owning their own vehicles, all of this space that's given up for parking, that becomes a thing of the past, because I don't need to park much, and they'll go up, park somewhere, charge themselves, out of town in a big, field, well, probably not a field, but, a big area, and they come out, and you start to see actually, it radically changes how you might consider your city. Relics like us who used to drive their car will be marvelled at, by our grandkids and our, and so you used to drive your own car, you had to park, or what's that about? Now that's the rosy picture of how it could be, but that's what I like to hope it will be.
So what is your favourite autonomous car on the market right now? Time to ruffle some feathers.
I'm going to be in trouble when this comes out. I think it's hard to look past the likes of Tesla, of Audi, and actually more recently Ford. I think, if you were to look at sort of a truly autonomous vehicle, what they call sort of level 4, but highly automated, able to do almost all the driving tasks, it's kind of hard to look past the likes of Oxbotica here in the UK. I had the privilege of going in their vehicle, a demo a few weeks ago, and to see what it can do driving around the streets of London, it's not always an easy task. And it's homegrown UK talent, making that possible. And I think it's fantastic.
Great to hear. Well, Mark, that is all of my questions. That was really interesting. You've given such a good overview of the self-driving car industry, what we can expect in the future, and how it's being achieved based on the work that you're doing. Thank you so much for coming on to Vlog Fridays.
It's been a pleasure. I love talking about this stuff, and glad it's found it interesting. And thanks for having us on.
To everyone at home, I'm sure you found that really interesting. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this episode. If you have any other questions, which I didn't necessarily ask Mark, feel free to comment them below, and hopefully we'll get some more answers for you. Thank you very much, Mark.
Pleasure. Thanks again.